Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Shawn.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Jesus said, "Very truly I tell you, anyone who does not enter the sheepfold by the gate, but climbs in by another way, is a thief and a bandit. The one who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep hear his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought out all his own, he goes ahead of them, and the sheep follow him because they know his voice. They will not follow a stranger, but they will run from him because they do not know the voice of strangers." Jesus used this figure of speech with them, but they did not understand what he was saying to them. So again, Jesus said to them, "Very truly I tell you, I am the gate for the sheep. All who came before me are thieves and bandits, but the sheep did not listen to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters by me will be saved, and I will come in and will come in and go out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Brothers and sisters, this Sunday is the Good Shepherd Sunday and the World Day of Prayer for Vocations. The Church reminds us to pray for more vocations to priesthood, diaconate, and religious life. Both the Old and New Testaments use the image of a shepherd and his flock to describe the unique relationship of God with Israel and of Christ with Christians. Considering these readings, I would like to share my personal vocational story following the steps of the Good Shepherd, Jesus Christ. I was born in San Salvador, the capital of El Salvador, and I grew up in Agua Caliente. Agua Caliente means hot water, a town in Chalatenango, in the north of El Salvador. In my childhood, I was not religious because my family did not practice their faith as Catholics. My father passed away when I was 7 years old, and my mother in those years was away from the church. However, thanks to my mother's side, I received the sacraments of initiation. My grandmother was very involved in her home parish, and she pushed my mother so that I received the sacraments of Christian initiation. That is why the role of grandparents is important in the spiritual life of their grandchildren, especially when the parents do not practice their faith. When I was 15 years old, I realized that something was missing in my life, and then I discovered only Jesus was missing in my life to have hope. I started going to Mass and getting involved in the parish as a member of a team group. I liked the experience to be part of the parish community. After that, I became a religious teacher for children for First Communion. Then little by little, I was very involved in church activities, working with youth and children. Being in this stage in my life, I thought about the next step in my life for the future. I was ending high school in those days. At the same time, I felt something in my heart saying to me I could be a priest. Then I spoke with the pastor of my parish regarding a potential vocation. He motivated me to decide to go to the seminary. He asked me to contact the vocational director of my diocese. A few months later, after praying and discerning the call from God to priesthood, I applied to the seminary and I got accepted. So I began the priestly formation at the seminary in San Salvador. But a few years later, I realized I needed some time outside of the seminary to discern more of my vocation. Then I left seminary and I worked as a religion teacher in a Catholic school in my home parish and as a youth minister for my diocese in El Salvador. Being in this stage in my life, I went to Boston, Massachusetts for vacation in 2008. Being on this vacation for a few weeks, I got to know a retired priest from Boston. His name is Father Joseph Gaudet. He has a French-Canadian background. He used to celebrate Mass at the parish where I used to go every Sunday. He motivated me to come back to the seminary, either in Boston or El Salvador. I was not very sure if I wanted to come back to formation in those days, but he convinced me to speak with the vocational director of Boston. And yes, I spoke with him, and he helped me out to apply to the seminary in Boston. They assigned me at the seminary. However, to start formation, I needed to go back to El Salvador to get a visa to study at the seminary. I went back to El Salvador and I applied for the visa at the American Embassy in San Salvador, but they denied the visa. Due to the visa denial, I stayed in El Salvador for a year until I applied to the visa again. This time they approved the visa. Then I moved to Boston to begin formation to priesthood at the seminary there. In the beginning at the seminary, I studied English as a second language because my first language is Spanish. After that, I studied theology for many years. Getting formation in a seminary in another country was difficult initially, but I received a lot of support from faculty and seminarians. All the time of formation went well for me. I was not the best student, but I was not the worst. I got ordained as a transitional deacon on April 30th, 2016, and I got ordained as a priest on May 20, 2017. Since I have been a priest, my life has been different because I have realized that being a priest is the best decision I have taken in my life. And being a priest has been a good and beautiful way to serve God and His church in freedom and in happiness. I am aware of the challenges of being a priest in our days. It's difficult to be a priest in a secular society where God is not important, where He could be in second place or sometimes not even in the last place for many people. However, these challenges are opportunities to show the people that God exists and that He is a unique way for hope in this life. Today is the Vocational Sunday around the world. I am asking you to pray that I and other priests you may know stay faithful to our vocations, to be good shepherds of God's flock. And I would like to invite unmarried young people, men and women present here in this Mass, to reflect about the possibility that God may call them to priesthood or religious life. This could be your call today. God bless you.
Together let us proclaim the truths of our